I'm Rosalie Michaels, and welcome to the Pain Channel. Now, have you ever had a Monday when your joints were swollen, your face felt puffy, and your mind slightly hazy? You didn't even have alcohol, so what's going on? Well, loading up on junk foods, high-fat meats, sugar, and fast foods will increase inflammation in your body. This is partially due to the unhealthy fats used in preparing and processing these foods, especially trans fats and saturated fats. Processed meats, such as lunch meats, hot dogs, and sausages, contain chemicals such as nitrates that are associated with increased inflammation and chronic disease. Saturated fats are also found in meats, dairy products, and eggs. Now, while all of these foods are an important source of minerals and vitamins, you don't need the extra saturated fat. These foods also contain fatty acids called arachidonic acid. Now, while some arachidonic acid is essential for your health, too much arachidonic acid in the diet may make your inflammation worse. So be sure to choose low-fat milk and cheese and lean cuts of meat, which will not promote inflammation. Now, diets high in sugar have also been associated with inflammation, obesity, and chronic disease such as diabetes. Eliminate high sugar foods such as sodas, soft drinks, pastries, pre-sweetened cereals, and candy. Even vegetables can cause inflammation. Vegetables like potatoes, tomatoes, and eggplants may actually make pain from inflammation worse. These vegetables are part of the nightshade family of plants and contain a chemical alkaloid called solanine. Solanine can trigger pain in some people. Now, while there isn't any formal research findings that back the claim about nightshade plants, some people believe they get relief from the symptoms of pain and inflammation by avoiding these foods. So, what are we to do? Well, common medical anti-inflammatory treatments include rest, light exercise, weight maintenance, stretching, and medications designed to reduce the inflammation and control the pain. But what anti-inflammatory foods exist to lower inflammation? We go to Chef Rachel, the healthy cooking coach, to help us understand how foods affect the body and, more importantly, how to prepare organic, anti-inflammatory meals fast and easy. Thank you for joining us today, Chef Rachel. So, I have a question. What foods are the worst thing for an arthritic person to put into their bodies?
Great question, Rosalie. Well, some of the worst things to be eating are things like white flour, white sugar, anything that has hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated fats. Really, you want to cut out the packaged processed foods because those are the things that have the least nutrients and undermine health the most.
Okay, so what are the best foods to reduce inflammation?
Well, there's not a single food. They're really whole classes of foods. What you want to focus on is more fresh vegetables and fruits, especially dark leafy green vegetables, orange, yellow, and red vegetables and fruits. Today, what I'm going to focus on is dark leafy greens because those are some of the most underappreciated foods and they're super powerful in fighting pain and inflammation and reducing the risk of all the degenerative diseases.
So, Chef Rachel, if you could make just one anti-inflammatory meal that was fast, inexpensive, and tasty, what would that be?
That would be sauteed kale with onions, celery, and walnuts. And I'm going to make that dish today.
So, Chef Rachel, show us how to select the right foods and how you prepare a meal.
Well, we don't have time to make a whole meal today, but I will show you how to select dark leafy greens and how to prepare them. So what we have here is kale, and what you're looking for when you're shopping for dark leafy greens is you want a bright green color. You want to make sure that there are no yellow or wilted spots, and you need to buy enough of them because they're going to shrink tremendously after cooking. I've got 2 pounds of kale right here, and that's going to cook down into just a few cups. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to make friends with a new food. I know it's green, I know you're probably not used to cooking it, but I'm going to show you how to make it really tender, tasty, and digestible. For this recipe, you need a pot of lightly salted boiling water, at least 2 quarts of water, and a teaspoon of unrefined sea salt. Next, you'll need 1 medium onion. You'll need 2 to 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil. You'll need 2 cloves of minced or pressed garlic, a teaspoon of unrefined sea salt, a teaspoon of dried sage or thyme, a teaspoon of dry mustard, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper. You'll also need a 1/2 cup of toasted, coarsely chopped walnuts, 2 or 3 stalks of celery, finely chopped, and finally, the star of the show, you'll need 1.5 to 2 pounds of kale, and it should be fresh, bright, and green. And I'm going to show you how to work with it. So I've already washed the kale. To wash it, what you need to do is run water down each leaf or swish the leaves in a bowl of cold water. Make sure you run your fingers down the sides here to get all traces of sand out. Next, what you need to do is strip the leaves from the stems because the stems are indigestible. And here's what you do. And the stems we're not going to use. So we'll just strip these off like so. And now we're ready to put the greens in the water. I've got lightly salted boiling water coming up. Salt in the water. Make sure it's on high. And we'll add the greens. I know it looks like a huge amount of greens, but they shrink tremendously. If you start out with all of these greens, 2 pounds of kale, they're going to shrink down to just a few cups, remember. So you need to make sure you buy a lot. I recommend you weigh them at the store or the market to make sure you have enough. 4 packed cups of raw kale will cook down to a single cup. And that's actually a good thing. We're concentrating the nutrients, so you're getting the benefits of 4 cups of dark leafy greens when you eat a single cupful. And I'm boiling it here with the lid off. That's going to keep the temperature from getting too high, and it's going to tenderize the leaves. And once they're cooked, we're going to plunge them in ice water to stop the cooking and hold the color. And we'll end up with this amount of greens. So what we need to do is chop these greens. We're going to cut them into bite-sized pieces. And this is a great dish to make with multiple meals in mind. I recommend that you cook enough with 2 or 3 days or meals in mind so you have great leftovers, and that's going to make it more convenient for you to get these vegetables into your daily diet and ideally get some leafy greens into every meal. The celery we've already chopped. The walnuts were toasted in a 325-degree oven. I started out with whole raw walnuts and put them on a cookie sheet for about 15 minutes until they're lightly golden, and they'll be ready to add to the onions. So while the greens are cooking, turn them in the water and make sure they're submerged in that boiling water. It only takes about 4 to 8 minutes, depending on how big the leaves are and how tough they are. Then what we're going to do is put them in the ice water, like this. See how bright these greens are? They actually become more vibrant in color after they're cooked than before. We're going to plunge them in the ice water to stop the cooking, again, and hold the color. Cooking the greens is really important. You actually get more nutrients delivered to your cells when you cook these greens than when you eat them raw. Cooking these greens actually helps maximize the amount of nutrients that you get from them. More of the iron and more of the antioxidants are available when they're cooked than when they're raw. We're going to leave them in the cold water for just a few minutes to chill them. Then we'll take them out, strain them, and when we wring them out, they'll look like this. So these are chopped and ready to go. I already got the onions sauteing. So we have our medium onion and our olive oil here, so I'll add the rest of the ingredients. Now, we've got the onions sauteing. They're nice and tender and caramelized. I just added the garlic. Now I'm going to add the seasonings. So we're going to add our sea salt. We're going to crumble the sage. This is dried sage. We'll add our dry mustard, black pepper, and give it a stir. Now we'll add the celery and the walnuts. Okay, now let's take the greens that were in the ice water and let's drain them. You can lift them out of the ice water with a skimmer like this. And then you pick them up and you just wring out the excess water, like so. I have some greens already chopped and ready to go into the skillet. This recipe makes 4 to 6 generous servings. And you just give it a stir to combine all the ingredients. If it seems a little dry, you can add a couple of tablespoons of water, stock, or broth, and it's ready to serve. You could serve this with some wild Alaskan salmon and maybe a baked or roasted sweet potato or some winter squash, and that would make the perfect anti-inflammatory meal. Remember, it's not just for fighting inflammation, it's for providing your body with all the building blocks it needs for health and regeneration. So these are great foods to make as part of your daily and weekly diet.
Where can we go to find you on the internet, and what books do you have available on today's topics?
If you're looking for more great recipes like this, you can go to thehealthycookingcoach.com, and you can check out my book, The Garden of Eating, a produce-dominated diet and cookbook. It shows you how to make vegetables and fruits a larger part of your diet so you can help your body fight free radicals and fight pain and inflammation and enjoy fabulously delicious meals. Now we're ready to serve.
Chef Rachel, thank you for joining us on the Pain Channel today. This looks amazing.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I'm really excited to be able to share these recipes with all the viewers. This is for you.
Well, thank you very much. It looks delicious.
It is. And remember, subscribe to this channel so that you can receive updates about future episodes where we'll be giving you more great tips and recipes to help you fight pain and inflammation and have the health that you desire.
Now, let's go to Adrienne Udarby. Adrienne is a nutritionist and registered dietitian who's here today to talk with us more about the issues of health and wellness and nutrition of our diets. There's no doubt about it that in our country we are more of a disease management society than we are a disease prevention society. We see patients at the Pain Center of Arizona, thousands every month, with debilitating chronic pain management diseases. Many of those symptoms, however, could certainly have been prevented or even lessened with proper diet and nutrition. What we put into our bodies is hugely important, and Adrienne is going to go over some of the issues of nutrition and how it affects our healthy living on today's episode.
It's an honor to be here today on the Pain Channel. Thank you to Chef Rachel for the amazing dish that she prepared and her expertise and insight into making nutrition healthy and delicious. Nutrition is something that affects all genders and all ages.
Well, thanks for joining us today on the Pain Channel, Adrienne, and again, thank you for joining us. Adrienne, here's the problem. The problem is that most of us aren't nutritionists. Most of us aren't registered dietitians. And there's so much out there about diets. There's low fat, there's low carb, there's high protein, there's the cookie diet, which sounds all right to me, by the way. So help us out. So what's the issue of diet? What do I need to do? Is it a diet lifestyle? Help me out with that.
It's really easy to get overwhelmed by the different types of diets that are out there, and it can even become very complicated. The best approach to nutrition is adopting healthy lifestyles that are sustainable across the lifespan. Because when you're dieting, you might lose weight pretty quickly, but then it's really hard to keep off over time. And if you're omitting certain food groups, then that's also something that's hard to continue over time.
Interesting. Now, same thing about vitamins, supplements. I mean, you walk into any health store out there or walk into any bookstore and there's magazines and books about the vitamins I should take, the supplements I should take. It's too confusing. Help me out. If I'm eating a good nutritious diet, do I need vitamins and supplements? What are your thoughts?
Well, it would be nice if there was just a magic pill for all of us. The one important thing to remember is that it should be food first and supplements second. Everybody can benefit from a multivitamin. However, we want to make sure that we're not using vitamins or supplements to replace the healthy foods that we should be eating on a daily basis.
Wonderful. That's hugely helpful. And I tell you, we look forward to bringing you on upcoming episodes and talking with our patients and the populations about the Pain Channel. You know, I read this staggering statistic that 64% of Arizonans here locally fall into the category of overweight or obese. That's a devastating statistic. So on upcoming episodes, I'm hoping that you can help shed some light for us on weight loss. You know, there's med spas all over town here that'll drop 25, 30 pounds in 1 month. What's healthy, what's safe, what's not. Aside from that horrible statistic, there's a statistic that over half of the women in this country will suffer from some fracture of a bone in their body secondary to osteoporosis. Osteoporosis, as we know it in health, can easily be prevented or significantly decreased with the appropriate diet, the appropriate amount of vitamin D and calcium in your diet. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to bring some light from a nutritional standpoint on osteoporosis. We've got an upcoming episode where we're going to talk about the treatments for osteoporosis. But again, it's got to be about nutrition for us. So thank you again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on upcoming episodes. And thank you again for joining us on the Pain Channel. We look forward to bringing you more information on this nutritional segment with Adrienne Udarby on the Pain Channel. Thanks again.
That's all the time we have for today's show. We would like to thank the Sunwest Showroom and their fantastic kitchen for today's show, along with Chef Rachel. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Pain Channel.